Welcome to the Lion's Share podcast, where we break down today's most impactful research and bring fresh insights from the academic frontier straight to you.
Today, we're really digging into the gap between having a brilliant idea and, well, actually generating sustainable wealth from it. We're unpacking a whole set of sources on business architecture, on monetization, and this is really aimed at you, the corporate leader or the entrepreneurial scholar who's wrestling with this whole innovation imperative.
It's a critical topic.
Because what we really learn from all this material is that disruption, it rarely just comes from a new piece of technology.
No, not at all.
It comes from fundamentally changing the business model itself. That blueprint for how a company creates and captures value, that's the architecture we need to map out.
And right away, it's clear we need to define our terms. I mean, for a corporate innovator, a business model isn't just a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It's the conceptual structure, the logic that supports the whole enterprise, the flow of products, services, and ultimately how you actually make a profit.
So if that architecture fails, what does that look like?
Well, you see exactly what the sources describe. You get departments working against each other. You see inconsistent responses to the market. And you just don't have the critical information you need to make a big strategic pivot.
And it's crucial, I think, to separate that big picture strategy, the business model, from the idea of monetization.
Yes, absolutely. Monetization is the toolkit. It's one specific method inside the larger structure.
So the business model is the grand plan.
Exactly. And monetization is the process of getting revenue from things that, well, that didn't make money before, turning uses or views or members into actual cash.
A really creative example of this, just to show how complex it can get, is the old CPTCA system.
Oh, right.
Where users are just proving they're not a robot, right? But what they were actually doing, unknowingly, was providing free labor to help digitize old books.
Creating a whole secondary revenue stream for the security company. That's true monetization innovation right there.
Okay, so let's unpack this through the lens of what's most useful for corporate entrepreneurs. For the entrepreneurs, we should move past definitions and get into the strategic side.
The first one that always comes up is the subscription model. It's sort of the default now for digital businesses. It gives you that consistent, predictable revenue. But I think for this audience, the real insight is how much its success depends on relentlessly managing retention and churn.
Right. It's less about the specific price point, even though we see someone like Netflix constantly tweaking it to raise their average revenue per user. It's really about the continuous innovation needed to stop people getting subscription fatigue.
Exactly.
If you stop innovating, the subscriber just leaves. It doesn't matter how cheap it is.
So if that continuous innovation is your defense, how do you hedge that risk? A lot of companies turn to the freemium model.
Okay, so free basic service, but you charge for the premium stuff, like Spotify or LinkedIn.
Yeah, and the real challenge there for an entrepreneur is getting that balance just right. The balance between what you give away and what you put behind the paywall to drive conversions.
And Spotify getting a 25% conversion rate is, that's just strategic genius. They figured out the exact pain point to make people pay.
Then you have to look at models that are more about controlling an ecosystem. The classic one is the razor and blade strategy.
Sell something cheap, like the razor handle.
And then require expensive constant resupplies like the cartridges.
Yeah.
For a company like P&G, this just creates these incredible, reliable income streams.
But the sources also point to the reverse razor and blades model.
Which is fascinating. You sell an expensive, high-margin product first, like a smartphone, which then requires really cheap or free supplies, like mobile apps.
So in both cases, you're forcing the customer into an ecosystem where you control how the value is captured. It's very defensible. Now, this brings us to that central tension in a big company: execution versus discovery. Market leaders often win by innovating just one piece of the business model canvas, not the whole thing.
Look at Amazon. Their success from the very beginning has been about constant innovation on the channels block.
How so?
Well, they started with online book delivery, then the Kindle was a whole new delivery channel, and now you have Alexa and Dash buttons. These are totally new sales channels that just bypass a website completely. They are masters of the channel.
And then you have Spotify. They went straight for the revenue model block. They didn't invent streaming, but they innovated past buying albums, past buying single songs on iTunes.
To a streaming model.
Yeah.
And they landed on that really successful freemium structure. They meet people willing to pay for music again by changing how they paid.
A phenomenal example of just a single powerful change is Tinder.
Oh, absolutely.
They didn't change the basic need for online dating. They innovated on the service design, and they placed that innovation right in the value proposition block.
Yeah, it's swipe right, swipe left mechanic.
Yeah. It eliminated all those complex forms, reduced friction, and this is critical, it solved a huge filtering and harassment problem for female users. One design innovation just blew up the market.
And this leads us right to the core strategic difference between a startup and a big corporation.
Yeah. If you're a big firm, you are fundamentally a machine built for execution. You're optimizing a value chain that's already proven using set budgets and KPIs.
But innovation, what we call discovery, that requires you to question and basically reassemble that entire value chain. A startup is searching for a business model.
Well, the big firm has to execute its current one while somehow discovering the next one.
It's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
But companies like Netflix show it can be done. They were brilliant at the mail-order DVD business, and then they made the incredible decision to disrupt themselves with streaming.
They basically treated their own successful model as the enemy.
Exactly. To do that, you have to adopt an attacker mindset. You have to ask, what would it take to destroy my business?
Yeah.
And then you have to go build that thing internally.
And that takes real agility. I don't mean just putting the word agile on a slide. I mean proving it with fast, cheap experiments.
Like the Google Glass prototype. The sources say a team built the first one in an afternoon. It was just a plastic frame with a phone literally glued to it.
Wow.
And that kind of speed means your corporate culture has to accept failure. It has to.
Which is so hard.
It is, because traditional metrics penalize failure. But an entrepreneurial mindset sees failure as just essential data. Think about the team that built Audio, the failed podcast platform.
They didn't get shut down.
No, they pivoted. They learned from that failure and they went on to build Twitter. That ability to learn from failure is absolutely indispensable for corporate innovation.
This internal tension really brings up a critical problem with business architecture, which is strategic drift and financialization.
The airline industry.
The airline industry is the perfect case study. After deregulation, they chased profit through complexity. They basically turned themselves into banks that just happened to fly planes. The core value, getting you from A to B, became secondary. The sources show that at one point, United's Mileage Plus program was valued at $22 billion.
While the airline itself.
The entire airline's market cap was only $10.6 billion. The financial product, the points, was worth more than twice the actual airline. That's a staggering example of business model drift.
And if you connect that back to your product strategy, it leads to this critical idea of product market pricing fit.
Okay.
It's not enough to build something customers need and value. You have to know precisely what they are willing to pay for it.
And here's a core insight for anyone writing their own strategy papers. The best companies bring that pricing conversation way, way earlier into the R&D cycle.
Much earlier.
Instead of building a product and then trying to price it, the new imperative is to design the product around what you know people will pay. The mantra is price before product.
That systematic audit is so important for marketing strategists. If Amazon innovates on channels and Spotify on revenue models, then a corporate entrepreneur needs to be auditing every single block on that business model canvas to find their own opportunity.
Not just the product features.
No, the channels, the value proposition, the revenue streams, everything.
And what about competitive advantage? In all these platform models, with dozens of types to choose from, how important is member-led monetization, turning users into actual contributing members?
It's tremendously important. It's how you build defensible network effects.
How so?
Well, member-led monetization encourages users to create content, to police the community, to spread the word for you. It lets the community grow with much less direct input from the company.
So it's a self-fueling engine.
It is. And that self-fueling network is probably the strongest competitive moat an entrepreneur can build today.
When you look across all of these models, what's the one thing that really stands out?
That the business model is this vital, active thing. It's the intermediary between your high-level strategy and your daily processes. And the success of any new innovation hinges completely on creating the right architecture and monetization to capture the value that it creates.
So for you, our listener, what does all this mean? When you're assessing a new venture, a new product, You have to look past the shiny features. You have to focus intensely on how it's going to change the value chain.
Will it change your key partners? How will revenue flow?
And crucially, what price are customers truly willing to bear for this new value? And to leave you with a final thought to explore, if the chase for profit through complexity led to the financialization of airlines, does that drift away from the core service always compromise value for the average customer, the one who isn't dip in the loyalty program?
It's a great question.
And what kind of rules or regulations could even anchor a company back to its main value proposition? Something to think about as you go out and build the next generation of business models.
Thanks for tuning into the Lion's Share podcast. If you enjoyed today's discussion, share it with a friend and join us next time for more ideas worth talking about. We'll see you next time.